Welcome to another episode of The Velvet Hammer.
And here we go.
Last and final.
Yeah, we're going to talk strikes for cause.
Strikes for cause.
Oh, I'm good at these.
Not as good as me.
Oh, my God.
You just aren't.
No, I am.
No.
And you were just saying,
Definitely.
do strikes for cause come before preemptories or
So they
after?
happen during.
Okay.
Some judges, you have to ask the judge, and the judge will tell you. Some will allow you to do them on the spot, which is, in my opinion, the only good way to do it. Let us do them, if you're listening and you're a judge, let us do them on the spot in front of the jury. Just that's how it has to happen. You have to wait. The moment has passed. Very difficult. But remember when I talked about the witch's brew?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I gave you that whole example of Starbucks.
Yes.
So I'm doing the witch's brew, and I get to that point of how many of you, does anybody feel like there shouldn't be any amount that's given because you're now in this general damages category, you know? You can't play the piano anymore. There will be one person that wants to go first, and you let them.
And what do they say?
They say everything bad that I already did, which is, find another hobby, life is life, something. And then you say, who else believes this? Okay. Maybe you only got that one person. Maybe you got 8, which is what I got in that case. A huge amount. And you do not say, how dare you? You do not say, that's terrible that you would think that way. You say the opposite. And you believe the opposite, which is, I appreciate you telling me how you feel about this. It sounds like this is a very morally based, personal integrity type of feeling and conviction that you have. I do. How strongly do you hold your moral, personal convictions? Very strongly. If someone asks you to change a moral or personal conviction, will you do so easily just because they've asked? I absolutely will not. If I ask you to change your conviction so that you could be on this case, will you do that? No. If the defense lawyer asks you, will you do that? No. If the judge asks you, will you do that? No. And that's where I talk about them inviting themselves out of the case. They will not do it. So you want to go to what they are morally convicted of, and if it conflicts with what they're going to have to do, allow them that space to get out of the case. You do it respectfully with no judgment. Okay, now you try to beat that.
Okay, so, I'm not going to try to beat that, but what I'm going to tell you is that...
Because I always win.
Judges, when thinking about for a cause challenges, listen less to what you are saying, listen more to what the juror is saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you want to get them to say it out loud.
To say out loud stuff, okay? So if you're leading them into my experience is, if you're leading them, too much leading, the judge is going to be like, I used to be a lawyer before I was judge. Mr. Hamoudi, I know exactly what you're doing. I know that little shuffle you're doing there, right? So what I like to do is I like to get them to talk, say that maybe the case involves law enforcement witnesses, the person's law enforcement. I ask them, I go, tell me about your job. Do you enjoy it? What do you love about your job? Tell me about your colleagues.
Do you have 22 rounds or 20 minutes in criminal?
Yeah, sometimes I had 30, 40 minutes.
Each time?
Yeah, for a whole Voir Dire.
Yeah, so that's way more.
Okay.
That's why you can burn time like this.
You're the worst.
I am the worst.
You're the worst.
I am the worst.
Wait a minute. Just because
Burn time. She says burn time.
Burn time.
I'm just kidding. No, keep going. Keep going.
But then he starts talking. I go, and tell me about the friendship you have and the camaraderie. And he goes on. And then this is, if I came at the end of this case and I read you this instruction on credibility, and I told you that you shouldn't believe a police officer, is it going to be an easy thing for you to do? No. to me, like, I've now tied his bias to law that he's going to have to read and follow. And then I step back and then I'll let him go. I go, I'm entitled. My client's entitled to a fair. Yeah. Are you really going to be fair? Just be honest. And they'll be. And I've had him go.
You can't say be honest.
No, I do. I am myself.
Judge shouldn't allow you to say
I was
that.
be honest. Come on. Are you really going to be fair? And then, because the moment is so fluid, the judges will not interrupt me.
Can we just say that?
Like, it's just like me and him just talking behind, like I'm the bar,
but also,
making a Negroni.
But also, don't you agree that when a lawyer is doing all the talking, you're doing it wrong?
Yes.
The jurors have to be talking.
Yeah, you want to get them. You want to give them small questions that they're going to
Yes.
give big answers to. So,
Yes.
so you get them to talk as much.
Yeah.
So anyway, but those are the kind of the mechanics of it, and you want to do it during each session, and you want, if the judge lets you, and they better let you, otherwise it's very difficult, and it's super much harder, if that's such a thing, on Zoom. It's just way more. That would need its own special. I don't even want to talk about it because it needs its own special session. It's very different, and I've learned how to deal with it, and I've learned how to temper down my expectations on Zoom Voir Dire versus non-Zoom Voir Dire, because people can't talk at the same time. They can raise their hand at the same time, but that witch's brew process, it's not. You can't do that the
Because
same
you're
way.
getting, it's like a stutter effect
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, you can't. It doesn't. It's not conducive to that.
The other technique, if you got to be able to do it, you can do it. Is that I've taught Voir Dire. I've taught teachers about Voir Dire, and I've taught lawyers Voir Dire. Is I do this, and it changes the dynamic. And then I've had lawyers object to me doing this. I'll say, so when I teach, I just like slip at it. Right? I go, wait, come on. I go, so when I teach.
He's way smoother / slimier than I am.
Slimy? What's this? Karen. It's like.
It's
So
the
like
flim
when I
flam
teach-
sauce.
No, it's a flim flam sauce.
Yes.
You go,
Okay.
when I teach, and then suddenly everybody goes, oh, he teaches. And then I go, the Voir Dire, I teach. And then I've had lawyers come before court and say, Your Honor, I just want to object before Voir Dire starts that he does not talk about himself.
So and here's
That's funny. I think that's funny.
Here is the thing, right? As you change, you have to go with what you have,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, I am now a grandmother, so I'm like going to emphasize the granny in me. People like grandmothers.
Yeah.
It's a little unexpected
Yeah,
that the
you're like,
grandmother's a lawyer, but granny is a lawyer here, and I'm like just so sweet and like kind of grandma-ish.
But that can be dangerous too. I mean, if somebody really didn't get along with their grandmother,
Well,
you're
there's
then
that
pointing
too.
that
That's
out.
true. That's true. But I mean, using who you are is the most important. Whether you say it or you don't say it, like we are both very chatty and very people friendly. So that comes out. We are smiley and we get a lot of people talking because we know how to get people talking.
Yeah.
But we are totally different people.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Your styles are entirely different.
Totally different.
Though you speak, like I would say, you speak the same amount when you're talking.
Yeah.
But that's the only comparison that I
Yeah.
could make.
Yeah, but like the technique for the lawyers who are listening to this is if you want to talk and like leave impressions without saying much, say things like, when I coach, and then you ask a question, or when I teach, or, when I'm with my granddaughter,
Okay, but we're supposed to be talking about for cause.
Yeah,
But
I was
for
going to say,
cause-
this
but
is
it
you
sets
kind
up-
of
No,
making them like you.
No. But it sets this because I think that the center of a for cause challenge is getting them to essentially to come out and talk about who they are, and the judge. So you can tell the judge later, look at what he said, what she said. They're not going to be able to follow your instruction on this issue, but you got to get them to start talking.
But then here's the challenge. Remember, I said at the very beginning of this whole thing, there's a challenge when we used to call it deselection, and we just go in and go boop, 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 boop. My record was like 15 of them or 23. I can't remember. Just get them off. And then what do you have left? So the challenge is I invite them off. I want them to want to leave. I want them to see like, yeah, I'm really not the right juror. I want it to be a peaceful process. I want the other jurors to see that I treated that person with respect and concern and that I honored that person and honored the process. I do not want to attack them. I do not want to personalize it, and I don't want to belittle them. But I've seen people do that, all of it. And I probably did it earlier on in my career. But non-judgment, that is why when I talk about the moral belief system, how strongly do you believe in it, whether you use those words or not, that's what you're doing is you're saying you are a person of integrity. Your messaging is you're a person of integrity.
Yes.
I respect that about you. There are going to be things here that you're going to be asked to do that may conflict with that. Would you like to invite yourself off?
Yeah. And
that's a formula.
But how you treat the juror is going to impact the ones that end up in the box and what they think about you. Because
that was going to be my next question. Yeah. Are there jurors that are that you find are both sides and you can't decide whether or not they should go off?
Well, it goes in your hierarchy, right? You can never have a perfect jury.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking this.
They're going to, like in Ride the Ducks, they're going to take off everybody that hated the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the protest case, they're going to take off all the protesters, right? Yeah. But what you're trying to do is to prevent the really bad jurors from getting on that maybe are downloaded. So you have to make these calculations of, well, they're not great, but they're better than that option.
Degrees of how bad they are, basically.
Yes, or good. So it's all a matter of you're going through that list, and the judges give you very little time to do this. Like, okay, I'm going to be back in 15 minutes, or we're going to do it right now, because they want to seat that jury. Now they typically give you some time, because if you're doing Voir Dire in King County, you can't bring the jury in. But if you're doing it in person, as soon as you pick the jury, they come in. He excuses the ones that go, and they swear in the ones that are stay. They don't want to waste any time. They respect the jury's time.
And how you feel about the jury that you ultimately pick, like you said, sometimes they're both sides, is a reflection of how you feel about your case. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if you know you got problems in your case, you start it doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna lose if it's a bad case. Mm-hmm. To have a jury go sideways has been a rare event. Most times they get it right. The other side just has a better story than yours. If you're able to tell a better story, you'll win. I really think that. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I think that at the end of the day, it comes to...
I think every jury that agrees with me is a good one, and everyone that doesn't is horrible. And there's
of course you would.
But that's the truth.
Well, yeah, but
that is the truth.
But sometimes wait a minute. If your story is
don't give me this. My story is always right. All right.
That's a good one.
So let's talk about. There's a couple of juror types that we can have time to talk about. These are warnings. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number one, there are jurors that one of the ways that you can stay on a jury is just not to say anything.
Yes.
Most jurors know that. The less you stay, the more likely you will stay on a jury. And in fact, I had one case with Pat LaPlay where the presiding juror, who was a librarian and a male, who we thought for sure, turned out to be the presiding juror. You don't know who the presiding juror is, right? The juries decide who the presiding juror is when they begin to deliberate after the closing argument. We had not asked him a single question.
Oh my God.
He had escaped.
So you don't know anything about him now, other than the general questions that the judge did.
I know all about him because afterwards I met with him. Mm-hmm. But I knew nothing about him beforehand, which was a wake-up call for me and this was in like the 90s. Boy.
Has that ever happened since?
No. Okay. It's never happened since. I didn't keep track of it well enough. Mm-hmm. I didn't keep track of it well enough. Nobody is not going to say anything. Everybody's going to say something. I'm going to get some kind of a read on you. And then you're looking at, are they a leader or are they a follower? You're looking at a whole lot of psychological factors when you're deciding who's going to be on that final jury. Who's already come off for cause, and who do you have left to remove as a peremptory? So you're looking for, okay, remember you said, they're kind of good for us and they're kind of bad for us. Are they a leader? That's the tiebreaker. If they're a leader, then, and you have those peremptories to burn, then you're going to take them off. If they're a follower, if they're a person that's going to be quiet and doesn't have a lot of...
Might not have anything to say, but will follow what some of the others say. Yeah.
However, then you're also looking at the polarities. A person that's super, super negative to you may not, even on an admitted liability case, is going to drag the verdict down, because many juries, no matter what you say, add the top number and the low number and then average them, or add them all up and average them. So somebody that's really low is going to drag down the average. So you have to think about all these weird things as you're talking to the jury, as you're thinking of your, can I get this person off for cause? That's why you want the 4 causes off, because they're going to increase the chance of you losing, and they're going to increase the chance of you not getting damages, although that's not always correct. And we know that from real life and focus groups, that a jury can be totally anti your case on liability, but once the group has said, yes, there's liability, that person can be a driving force on your damages. So people are split often. A person bet on liability may be really strong on damages and vice versa. And so there's a whole lot of that going on.
I think that like jurors are moved by the process of the case, by what they hear and how they're persuaded by their colleagues in deliberation. I've seen it happen. Jurors move thinking, right? And so like my focus is always getting in thinking style. Like, how does this person think? Like, how do they get a point A to point B? And there are only like really so many thinking styles. And it has been a benefit to me to have a diverse thinking style. What do I mean by that? Type A, type B personalities, you mix them together, you get a lot more friction in the deliberation. You get a little more juice. You know, the dangerous juries to me are like monotone. There's no life in them. And so like, you know, and so I think that a diverse jury, all walks of life, old, young, and everything is best serves the case.
I just want a case where everybody wants to vote for the plaintiff.
I know you do. But you got to also think like you have a job to do to persuade them.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Why don't we play a little game for a second?
Okay. I like that games.
I'm on the jury.
Okay.
What do you guys what do you guys read me as? You don't even need to ask questions. You already know me, so just go off what you know.
Oh.
I'm going to say, you know, Mike, you kind of, you know, are daunting. You have a low, big voice, and, you know, you are, you seem like you are a strong personality, but then I see your eyes crinkling up at the corners. What's that all about?
I don't know.
See, I see Mike as the person who'll be quiet in the deliberation room. He'll let the talking go on, and then he'll say, no, that's not right.
I think
this is the right thing. This is justice. And then what he'll be very prepared. He'll listen, and he'll detail out the facts of why he thinks something's wrong.
I think that Mike, what I've learned about you, if nothing else from this podcast, is how wise you are. And so what I think you will do, it's not that you'll just play devil's advocate. I think that, and I don't think you're just going to lay it out. You do like to ask people the questions that will lead to the answers that you want to have.
Yes, and that's exactly what I did when I was in a jury. Pretty much everything you guys said.
Yeah.
I was probably a little bit more vocal than you described.
Yeah.
But I waited until I knew until we got into the deliberation room and had the facts that we were allowed to look at when we were in there. Because, you know, there's stuff that gets said that you're not allowed to use when you get in the room. So, and there were a bunch of people who, the second they saw the defendant, thought that he was guilty. Yeah. And I was like, we're not supposed to do that, guys. You know, they rolled in, they were like, hey, let's vote right now. Because they all thought everyone was going to say guilty and we were going to walk out of the room 5 minutes after we got there. That's not what happened. And a bunch of those people, as a matter of fact, all of them changed their mind. And I did not come in saying this was it. I just said, I don't know yet. I don't think we should vote this soon. I want to look at all the facts with everybody. And then when we started looking at stuff, we found stuff that they didn't say that were in the pictures and stuff. And, you know, it changed people's minds. Is what I'm getting to. And I didn't go in with an agenda of trying to do that. It's just when I saw the stuff and I was like, you guys are saying this? I really think you're on the wrong track. And, you know, 5-6 hours later or whatever, we made a decision, and a lot of people had changed their minds.
Now, let me ask follow-up. Because
Wait, can't. I gotta go.
Time up. Yeah.
However, that's how Voir Dire goes, guys.
That's how.
When the time is up, the judge ends it.
It's all over.
Okay.
It's just done. But thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that was great.
interesting.
It was a good little
was great.
series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's all for today.
Until next time.